All right, so Steven's back again with another shop update for you. The 350Z is done, 99% done. And what I mean by that is literally every nut and bolt that we have to turn on this car is finished, complete, except for doing an alignment and corner weighting. And we're gonna knock that out this afternoon, but once that's done, this car will be ready for shakedown driving and taking it out on a road course and get some shakedown track time on it as well, which we will be doing in just a couple weeks before we deliver this car to its owner. So I'm very excited about this car. It came out awesome. I'm so satisfied with how all of the components fit in this car, the way the wiring laid out, the plumbing, all of it. I think it's great. I think the owner is going to love it as well. At least I hope he will. He seems pretty stoked every time I talk to him. So I'm very excited for this car to get moved along. Been here for a while and we've gotten a lot of work completed on it and I'm excited about that. I will be doing a deep dive video on the electronics of this car and how all of that laid out, and that'll probably post in a couple weeks. It'll be a little bit of a longer video, but if you're interested in some techie geekiness, that'll be a good one to tune into. But what did we get done from the last time you saw this car? And honestly, quite a bit. We finished the wiring, finished the plumbing, finished everything else, but some of the upgrades we made were installing new brake rotors and pads. We went with DBA's 4000 series slotted rotors and EBC's Blue Stuff track pads. They're a good hybrid track pad for both street use and track use, so they'll work out well for this car for if this guy wants to take it, to local cars and coffees, things like that, or if he wants to go out on the track and whale on it, they'll work on both scenarios. We finished all of the electronics setup in this, so all of the headlights, turn signals, all that kind of stuff, wipers, dash, blower motor, defroster, power windows, all that, everything works in this car now, and it was all wired up and complete. What else did we get done in the last couple weeks? Kind of loomed all of the harnesses. So I think I had mentioned in a previous video that I wasn't looming anything until all the functional tests were complete. Well, honestly, the first configuration on everything worked except for the brake lights. I had to change the configuration of the trigger at the brake pedal for the Nexus for that to work. They worked, but they strobed. So a little tidbit of nerdiness in this video. I used one of the high current outputs from the Nexus to the brake pedal switch, and then out of the brake pedal switch to the brake lights. And then I also had an analog voltage input from the Nexus on the output of the brake switch so that the ECU would know when the brake pedal was hit for the drive-by-wire calibrations. What I didn't realize is that setting it up that way caused like a voltage backfeed on that voltage input, and the brake lights would pulse really fast. You could change the voltage tolerances in the Nexus, but it either pulsed really fast, pulsed slow, or didn't work at all. There was no fine line to get to that just made everything work the way you wanted it to. So what we changed was put the analog voltage input on the output of the switch, the other side of the switch to ground. So now the ABI saw a ground trigger whenever you were hitting the brake pedal, and then it would turn that high voltage output out or high current output out that was wired directly to the brake lights. And that worked a lot better, no more pulsing of the lights. That was the only thing we needed to tweak. Otherwise, everything else we set up in this car worked as it should from day one, which is awesome. Engine runs great. It's got really good oil pressure. Coolant temps stay fine. We let this thing idle for like an hour and a half with occasional revving just to get the coolant temp up. Sat basically right at 180, which is when the fan comes on. When fans would come on, bring it down to 175, fans would shut off. It would just keep cycling back and forth. Oil temps, it took forever to get oil temp in this because this thing has 3 gallons of oil in it with the full dry sump system capacity and a big oil cooler. So it took every bit of that hour and a half to get the oil temps up just to get some temperature into everything and make sure everything was working properly. No leaks, all of that good stuff. But this girl's ready to go. We are excited to take her out to Road America. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're actually gonna have this at the next Optima event. And I believe either my buddy Ron or Jesse Vaughn from Level 7 will be driving it, whoever's available that weekend. And we'll get some shakedown driving on it. So that's it for this car. And you probably see behind me that crazy Frontier's in here. Yep, it is. We did some prep work on this truck as well for the next Optima event. Honestly, nothing crazy. The thing works now. It's pretty well sorted. I'm happy with the whole setup. One of the things we did was an oil change, which I try to do between every event. And I check all the fluids. We nut and bolt the truck, make sure everything's tight and good. We'll check some critical stuff again once we're at the track. One of the other things we did was change the exhaust, and I am super unhappy with that. If I'm being honest, I hate the way the exhaust looks now, but it wasn't because I wanted it to look better. It's because I had a problem that was discovered at Laguna Seca. I love the side pipes on this truck. If you remember a while ago when I talked about this truck in a previous video, I built this just to sit in my booth and look cool, and it accomplished that. I didn't build it to go racing. It had side pipes that were one of the focal points of the entire build on this truck. One of the main reasons I did that was just for the way it looked and the way I designed the side skirts to go around the tips and all of that. It was all a package to go together. Well, there was a downside to that setup. And one of the things I was always concerned about was like, if I lost a turbo bearing or something and it dumped a bunch of oil in the exhaust, dumped oil onto the tire, that could be really bad on a road course. So I was concerned about that from day one. But what I didn't realize was happening, all those cool photos that I posted on my social media of like flames shooting out the exhaust, I was overheating the tires. I actually melted the center tread off of both rear tires at Laguna Seca. Had to get tires changed mid-event just to keep going through the event. Super frustrating. So we changed the exhaust so that the tips extend out past the side of the tire instead of being pointed right at the middle of the tire. But the way it looks now, I'm just not a huge fan of. And we're gonna change it again, but we got a race to get through. So once we get through the race and we get back, if I have some time, I'll make another change to the exhaust. Still keeping the tip out beyond the tire, but with a look that just fits the lines of the truck better. Right now this works, it's fine, like I said, but I just don't love it. And a lot of that stuff really irks me. Most people would be like, that's interesting. But to me, I really want it to look spot on, and I'm not super thrilled. So we'll make changes later, but for now, it'll work. Otherwise, this guy is ready to go. I am very excited to get back to Road America. Road America last year was my first event win at Optima, and you would argue I probably won because Jesse broke, and that's probably true. It was my first win. It was cool, got me some points, scored very well there. Excited to get back. The brake system on the truck is leaps and bounds better than it was last time we were there. The damper and spring setup is way better than it was, so from a handling perspective, the truck will be way better. So I'm just excited to see how it shakes out on the track. I think my best lap time was kind of laughable there. Last year it was like a 3:01, and I would love to go sub 2 minutes. I'm pretty sure I'll do that on my out lap, but if I can knock on like the low 250s, high 240s, I'd be pretty happy in this truck for that track. That track is like, it's one of the craziest places to be. It is so beautiful. The groundskeepers there do such a great job. It's like going to like a PGA level golf course, but it's a racetrack. It's beautiful. The facilities are nice, and you know, an over mile long front straight. You can get some real mile an hour into what you're driving. It's super cool. So excited for that. The whole family's coming with me. It's going to be a good time. But like I said, that's where we're at in the shop right now. After Road America, I believe I said this car is getting dropped off at its owner on our way home. So once that's out of here, we have a couple new builds coming in, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, probably in the next video or next 2 videos. The White Frontier will be coming back in. We're working on getting the engine together for that truck, and we will get some updates coming at you for that one and some new suspension information that we're working on there. So very excited, but thanks so much guys for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.